Hello, Leo, and welcome to Indigo Rising Tarot. Thank you so much for joining me today, and I hope you're having a great day. I hope you're getting through this winter season. I know that since we're in March now, I'm starting to feel like, oh, spring's around the corner. I'm so excited about it. I just really love summer, so I'm very happy that spring's coming. Anyway, this will be your weekly reading for the week of March 8th through the 14th. And during that time, we have a few different moon energies. Of course, we have the waning gibbous. We're coming off that full moon from last week, and that's a time for self-reflection and rebirth, a good time for us to get rid of bad habits and negative thinking. We then have the third quarter moon that moves in, and that's going to be on the 11th or the 12th, depending on where you are. And, third quarter is also a time of reflection. It's a good time to get rid of negative emotions, but we're kind of wrapping up those things that we started on the new moon. So, evaluating, what's working for us, what's not working, what kind of changes would we like to make when the next cycle approaches. We then have the waning crescent for the rest of the week. And of course, that's just nice, calm, stable energy. And again, we're trying to be growth oriented. What is it that we would like to change in the next cycle? What's been working for us in the past. So definitely a lot of self-reflection going on for this week. This will be an intuitive general reading for energies that you may or may not encounter, Leo. So as always, please take what resonates today and leave what doesn't on the table for someone else. And your overall message for this reading is the energy is gaining momentum. Okay, let's see what the Leo Collective has going on for the week. As I'm shuffling, my fun weekly reminder this week is that, especially with all of this self-reflective energy that we have with the moon this week, is try to get yourself out into nature. So, take a long walk or find a beautiful view somewhere and go enjoy it. Just really enjoy the miracle of nature in whatever way that you can around you. Find some water. If you're near water, a lot of times that can be very relaxing and reflective. Feed some birds, just whatever it is. Try to get yourself out in nature this week and do some of that self-reflecting in nature. So that is my fun weekly reminder for you. Let's get into this reading. Leo, March 8th through the 14th. The energy is gaining momentum. And your present energy right now, Leo, is the Fool card. Okay, so we're about to step off here onto a new journey, and some energy is gaining momentum for you. Maybe you're preparing for this new journey. Maybe it's something you've been thinking about in your recent past, but it looks like this week is about reflecting on that, and maybe finally at the end of this week, or sometime this week, making that new journey, whatever that is that you've been thinking about and working on. So that's pretty exciting for you. Your current situation right now is the Six of Wands. So you're definitely, looks like you're being supported by friends and family around you who are thinking, yeah, this new journey, this is good for you. Go ahead and step out and do this thing. This is kind of a, this is kind of just feeling the, like the not adulation, what's the word I'm looking for, just it's the support of friends, family, your peers, people around you who are like, yeah, you're on the right path, like that little pat on the back. It's not like a huge celebration, but it's like people that are there that are like, yeah, you're doing the right thing here. At the root of your situation is the Knight of Pentacles. So it looks like you are trying to take some sort of new action in the financial realm. And that could be, maybe your new journey is job related. Maybe you're taking a new job, changing jobs, making some sort of movement there, and how you're collecting those pentacles. This is definitely action on that front. So that's pretty awesome too. In your recent past is, yeah, something that has you, this is the Three of Swords can be about heartbreak, but because it's swords, sometimes you just even think like mind break, like you're just kind of done with something, and you're wanting to move on. It's something that just mentally, even, it's just kind of you just can't do it, and again, if it could be work related, that especially just that frustration comes in, and you're frustrated, and because of that frustration, it's leading you to make this decision and come to this decision point to take off on this new journey. So that's how things happen. You get frustrated, make a change, right? What's on your mind this week is a decision here, some decision point, which is about really thinking something through. So think this all through very wisely. This new decision, you've got some decisions to make there, but it looks like, make sure that you're looking at kind of all the possible routes. None of us can tell the future, of course, but you can kind of do the pros and cons thing on a piece of paper. Pros, if I make this decision and move this direction, here are the possible positive and negative outcomes. If I make this decision, here are the possible positive, and you can kind of evaluate those possibilities, and that's just really what we're all doing all the time, making those evaluations, making those adjustments. What is just ahead of you this week is some hard work. So whatever it is definitely, you know, you've got this hard work cut out for you, but this can also be really good work. So, I like that aspect. This can be our lost in the moment, card where, like I always say, that if you yelled this guy's name right here, he's not going to answer you because he's just so into the thing he's working on. So, if this is ahead of you, is to really buckle down and work that hard on something, then that's just what you're going to have to do. I don't see that being a problem for you, Leah. In your advice position, is the Five of Swords. So there might be some sort of conflict or some sort of, this can be, sometimes, especially in the advice position, I feel like, do you have to weather some words maybe? Is this you throwing these swords out and getting hurt back here, or is it other people? So let's just be very, very wise with your wording this week. You don't want to hurt feelings, and you want to make sure that you're making the right decisions here, but just be kind, and that's good advice for all of us at any time, right? What is beyond your control this week is, of course, thinking about the future. So whatever this is, whatever this decision point is for you, you're definitely thinking about the future. I'm not seeing any cups come up in this reading yet. So this to me is about passion and intellect and money, and trying to combine all those things to get to the right place. I don't even see you being emotional about it. We'll see if cups come out right here at the end of this reading, but this isn't emotional. It's almost like very practical that you're doing it. There's good reasons you're, again, it's intellectual, but it's also about passions and money, and how can you combine all of those things to get to a point in life where you want to be, so that you're happy every day. That's important. What is your secret desire? What are you trying to avoid? Is the Seven of Wands here. So you're trying to avoid feeling like you against the world. It's almost like you're trying to avoid your support system from turning on you, right? And maybe that's what some of these conversations about. Make sure that your support system is not going to turn on you so that you feel like it's you against the world. Of course, you would rather much have that support behind you. So if you're making the right decisions, I don't see that as being a problem, but I do feel like you're probably trying to avoid that. I doubt if that's your secret desire. Nobody wants to feel like it's them against the world. So make sure that you know what your support system is. Is that intact? Are they going to be there when you start off on this new journey? So make sure, just ask those questions. It might lead to some contentious conversations. Just be very careful with your words there. In your outcome position is the Nine of Swords. So the outcome on this is that you're a little worried maybe about making this decision, and this decision is keeping you up at night. Is it this decision about this new journey and maybe how to go about it? So again, making a list of pros and cons, just getting out pencil and paper, asking people around you that are older and wiser than you. And that doesn't necessarily mean by age. Sometimes people can be older as a soul and wiser than you. So don't think that someone younger than you or someone just your age might have a better answer for you. So, I feel like this is a decision that I feel like you're making this decision, but you're just kind of worried about the different outcomes or different ways to do it. So those are just all the details, right? And you can't be so afraid that you don't make a decision because you're afraid of how things, but sometimes you'd have to go for it, right? So what's hidden from you this week is the Magician. So the Magician is here to ask you, how do you want to most move forward? And I mean, that's hidden from you, but that's a question that you should be asking, is what are the areas in your life that you want more fulfillment in? Again, I'm not seeing any cups here, and which is fine, that might come later. But so is it passion? Is it money? Is it intellect? Are you trying to learn more? Who are you trying to be? So, the Magician is definitely the master manifester. And before the Magician can help you and get you where you want to be, it's almost like you need to kind of define loosely. Now, we all get to do those, make those definitions, and then of course they change over time, but you do have some sort of energy that's gaining momentum here, but go ahead and work with that, and that take the time to define what it is. What is it intellectually that's bugging you about where you are now and how you want to make changes? What are these passion things? What is it about your support system? Are they going to be there for you to congratulate you or not? Are they going to be against what you're doing? And how can you work within that system to make sure everybody around you is happy, but especially you? That's really about you being, making your momentum move and where you want to end up. So let's get a final word here from the Soul Oracle deck. A final message here for Leo as they take off on this new journey. It looks like they've got some momentum building here. And how do we relieve some of that stress too? Retreat. I don't know. That's interesting for a card, especially for this. I don't know if you need to retreat. I think you need to answer some questions. You've got a lot of big decisions going on here. So maybe retreat on the what's the word I'm looking for? Let's not argue too much until you have almost like a defined plan, right? Make a plan. Let's see what you need to do in the way of self-care. What does Leo need to do in the way of self-care this week? Okay, the card that comes up for you is surprise. Surprise. Release your expectations and be open to surprise. And that's what I was saying before. We can plan so much of our lives, but sometimes there's things that happen just chance wise. If you're prepared, what do they say? That luck is when being prepared meets opportunity, that's what luck is. So make sure you're prepared, but make sure you're getting out there and letting those opportunities come too. So Leo, I wish you the best of luck with all of this. It's a very interesting reading. If you're comfortable sharing, of course, drop me a comment down below. Let me know what's going on with you, that what is this new journey and what area of your life is it, and what energy is gaining momentum? And are you worried about having that support around you? Have you really defined what the changes are you want to make, or is that keeping you up at night? Maybe that's just it. You need to just take the time to define that. And, we're in this reflective week. Get yourself out in nature. Think about it. What is it that you really, really want? So, again, thank you so much for being here. If you like my reading style, hitting like and subscribe helps me, and I appreciate that so, so much. So, thanks so much in advance for doing that, Leo. Good luck with all of this, and I will see you next time. Bye bye.